I've come today to West Norwood in the south side of London. It is one of London's magnificent 7 cemeteries. You will have heard of Highgate, Kensal Green, Brompton and so on. West Norwood is one of the lesser known ones. Today it is blowing a gale, so apologies for any wind noise on the microphone. Just on the left of the main entrance is the War Memorial. The centre plaques are for World War I, and on each side we have the curved plaques with names of those who died in World War II. Some of the names on the plaque from the Second World War. This is one of the 7 plaques with names on from those who gave their lives in World War I. This is a very large memorial with the sorrowing maiden leaning onto the stone, head in her hands, and it's in memory of Elizabeth Brown, who died in 1912. Inside the gate is this large slab of stone to Sir Hiram's Maxim. Now, he was an interesting character. He was American by birth, although he came to live in this country. He was an inventor of all sorts of things, from trying to be the first person to build an aircraft before the Wright brothers, he never managed it, right the way through to claiming to have invented the light bulb and hair curlers and so on. But he's best known for the Maxim machine gun. This is the first machine gun that was used in war and was responsible for the deaths and the maiming of hundreds of thousands of young men. There are a number of these mausoleums along the main path here, but there's not much indication of the family surname on them. This one has a very clear biblical text around the top, but again no indication of the family involved. A very elaborate and detailed memorial here. The first name on it is William Richard Sutton, but the detail around the bottom of it, with the faces and the crests, and if we pan up you can see the detail in the carving there at the top. An unusual design on this one with the archway, and the name on the front is James Walter Everidge, 1907. Classical figure on this one on the top. If we come down we see the surname is for Gallop, and on the front of the memorial is this image of this lady. The mausoleum with the domed top has the name Alfred Longsdon on the front of it. Here we have a huge lump of roughly hewn stone, and the only indication is on the bottom there is the name John Breton. This tall cross is to Harriet Hannah, the beloved wife of James Dillon, but the detail on the carving on the cross is amazing. Look at the way they've carved these flowers into the same piece of stone. Extraordinarily well done. This is a memorial to Arthur Wormel, 1885. The inscription reads, "For many years a resident of Lansdowne Gardens, South Lambeth, and Stamford Street, Blackfriars, a loving and dutiful husband, affectionate and indolent father, a staunch true friend, kind master, and a faithful servant to his country, which he served throughout the whole of the Crimean War. He passed gently and happily away to his home of rest after a few days' illness." A really elaborate memorial, and the plaques on it are in metal. Here we have Frederick Walter Helmuth, fourth son of Helmuth Schwartz, 1870 to 1900. And here we have Hans Ulbricht Helmut Schwartz, born at Osnabrück, 1825, and died in London. And all the panels of this memorial are these plaques remembering various members of the family. It is blowing a gale. Apologies for the noise on the microphone. Close by is this large memorial to Wilhelm Hans Helmuth Rommel, only son of S.F. Rommel. And underneath we have Sigrid Frederick Rommel, born in Frankfurt. This one is a little different in colour, and at the bottom it's got the lovely name of Gwendoline Titania. Gwendoline Titania, daughter of the above. So her surname was Crowder. And immediately behind her we have the mausoleum for Henry William Martin, Esquire of Streatham Hill. We have an angel here leaning forward, and the family name on this memorial is Connell, C-O-N-N-E-L-L. We have some building work going on nearby, relaying the paths in the cemetery, so excuse the background noise. This is a very large memorial where the paths divide, and the inscription is to James William Gilbert, a director of the London and Westminster Bank for 25 years, its general manager. He died in 1863. You can see down here the work they're doing in this cemetery. There's a complete path being relaid here, and it's good to see these cemeteries being maintained. This has an unusual first name in that it's in memory of Gloucester Marshall. In memory of Lieutenant C.H. Wilkinson, MC, Military Cross, and Croix de Guerre, Belgium, of Eltham, New Zealand, aged 21 years. And just in front of this we have the traditional Commonwealth Graves memorial to the same chap. So behind it is the family memorial to him. This one with the large anchor on the front is dedicated to William Marshall, FAS, FRCS, FII, late of the Indian Navy, who died in 1906. Something a little different here. At the bottom we have Albert Edward Pinder, aged 32, and underneath that we have an inscription in French, which I won't attempt to read or to pronounce or even to translate. And then we have these images on the stone as well. Presumably one of those can't be Albert Edward Pinder, because he was only 32, and that gentleman is at least double that. Anyway, we have two grand looking pictures on this memorial. This is the grave of Henry Bessemer, very famous in his day. He invented the process for mass producing steel. Up until that time, everything was made in iron, wrought iron, cast iron, or very small volumes of steel. He invented the Bessemer process for making large volumes of steel, and it really was a major step forward in the Industrial Revolution. So Henry Bessemer. I'm always looking for something a little different. Now this one not only has the inscription at an angle at the bottom, but it says devoted husband James Bassett, and then in brackets Charles Bertram, who passed away 1907. Don't really know what that means, why there'd be a second name in brackets underneath James Bassett, unless he was known by those two completely different names. We have Maria, the wife of D.A. Herschel, and D.A. Herschel was the founder of, and for 31 years, the minister of Loughborough Park Chapel in Brixton, and of Homes for Aged Christians, a Jew by birth, a Christian by grace. I'm not sure I've come across Homes for Aged Christians before, but it sounds like a grand fun place. A modern stone amongst the older ones. This one is C.P. Lobo, and then in brackets Uganda, 1888, 1985, so he was 97. I'm assuming it's a he, it may be a she, 97 years old. This is Mary, the beloved wife of Joseph Edwards, died in 1892. And on the stone we've got this likeness of Mary. Very well done. You can see that amongst all the old memorials here, they are still accepting burials. Clearly a new one here with a wooden cross, and it still has flowers around it. This angel unfortunately has lost her right hand, but down on the bottom here she's still kicking her foot out of the gown. Her toes are still protruding. This one's got the curved arch. I would think there's something that should have been within that arch originally, but it's a little different. And the main name on there, the one in the centre, is Henry Wood JP. Up on the left here, quite clearly an area where they're still accepting modern burials. Pan around to the right, and there's a few more, or quite a few more over here. While up on the right hand side of the same path we have a whole lot of these large mausoleums. We'll work our way up there and have a look at those in a minute. This is the area with the very large mausoleum tombs, and it tells me on the board over here that this is the Greek enclosure. On this elaborate mausoleum there's a very clear plaque on the side. It reads John Peter Raleigh and Peter Panthea Raleigh and John Constantine Raleigh. Some of the inscriptions in here are just in Greek, and that doesn't mean very much to me. I'll just show you this one. This one is beside the main path, and on this side it reads Constantine J Stavridi and his wife Lisa, and on the other side we learn about his son John, who was a sapper in the Royal Engineers. 1897 he was born, and he died on the SS Osmania in the Great War in 1917. He was just 20 years old. The memorials here in the Greek section are absolutely huge and very elaborate. And just a final shot of the Greek cemetery within the West Norwood Cemetery in South London. Quite amazing. Very elaborate carving on this one, although it has weathered a bit. We have the angel with a wreath holding it against the cross, and we have the banner draped over the cross. Very carefully carved. And at the bottom is dedicated to Amelia, the dear beloved wife of Woodford Fawcett. So many interesting memorials to explore. I've included this because it tells us a little bit about the person. Alma Jean Henry, educator, opera singer, philanthropist, born in Trinidad in 1934 and died in London 1999. Alma Jean Henry. Well, I couldn't get the name of this chap off the stone, but there's this brass likeness of him on the memorial. I just had to show you. Well, they are certainly doing some good work in this cemetery. This is clearly a new path that's been put on that leads you through the memorials. A lot of work being done to look after it. This is the tomb of Sir Henry Dalton. You will know of Sir Henry Dalton as the founder, man behind the Dalton pottery business. Sir Henry Dalton's tomb. A huge slab of stone here, and we see on the end that it's the family vault of William Leaf of Park Hill in Streatham, and on the longer side we have other members of the family. This is a very large horizontal slab of stone, and I apologise for the background noise. It is blowing a gale here at the moment. At the top we can read it's Sir John Key, late Chamberlain of London, and as we go down the stone, various members of his family. Behind this holly hedge surrounding a large stone, we have the grave of Thomas Cubitt. He was a builder, a very famous builder, who was responsible for a number of the famous streets in London and the houses along them. Thomas Cubitt, who died in 1855. Difficult to get a better shot with all this prickly holly here. There are a lot of these horizontal slab type tombs. It does make the inscription difficult to read when they're horizontal, and they don't weather so well, but clearly these were wealthy people to have tombs this size. This reads John Pearson Beaumont, late of New York, born at Bath, that's here in this country, died in London, but presumably spent a large chunk of his life in New York. Well, I'm going to call it a day there. I've been battling against these gale force winds, but this cemetery is fascinating. I came here a number of years ago. I remember it as being very overgrown. They've done a marvellous job in clearing the brambles and the undergrowth so you can walk to almost any stone easily, and they're putting in new paths and small roadways. Done a marvellous job here at West Norwood. As I mentioned earlier, it's one of the magnificent 7 cemeteries of London, and it really should not be missed. Till the next time.